maybe what the Coy Jones is trying to get at here is when it comes to a relationship, most men would not want to be in a relationship with a sex worker, whether in the past or present.
But you can't speak that for all and for everybody.
Well, sure, of course I'm not speaking for all, but would you disagree, generally speaking, men don't want to date prostitutes and porn stars? And
no, there's plenty of men out there that
That's not what I said. That's not what I said. Generally speaking, I would say most men do not want to have long-term relationships with women who are involved with sex work.
I disagree.
You think the majority of men, so more than 50% of men, want to date and have long-term relationships with women who are involved in sex work?
It's 50-50, dude.
You think so?
50% of men would date
I feel
sex
like
workers.
50% of men.
I don't know. I'm not talking numbers and stuff. I don't know that. I'm just saying that we're all different, and who knows? Like,
I'm not okay. You have to understand. I'm not saying that it's impossible for a woman to, if you have a past of sex work, current sex work, prostitution, whatever it is, it's not going to be impossible for you to find a long-term relationship or a husband. However, I don't think my statement is wrong, which is the majority of men do not want to date or wife up a prostitute.
Okay.
Or a girl who's done porn.
I disagree with that. But
well, I mean, you kind of are not seeing the bigger picture, right? Because the only men who would date you are the ones who do feel okay with the fact that you're
I want to bring
a
it back
sex worker.
real quick to the whole how we're not respected and all this. You know what I mean? How disgusting is it for people to come to sex workers and or think about sex workers and think that we deserve not to be respected just because of our industry? It shows that you're very narrow-minded. It shows that you lack empathy. It shows a lot, actually. We are human. We are people. We're very open-minded. We're compassionate. People can come to us at the Bunny Ranch and we can sit down and have one-on-one conversations with people. They feel safe with us. And people like you guys, and I'm not saying like you guys, but people that do believe in what I don't, it's scary. It really is scary that we have a group of people that are like so narrow-minded like that.
I don't believe that you deserve to be disrespected.
One sec. Let's define the terms here a little bit. So when you say narrow-minded, also let's define respect, right? So I pulled it up, dictionary, Oxford Dictionary. Respect, number one, a feeling of deep admiration for someone or something elicited by their abilities, qualities, or achievements. And then the other one is due regard for the feelings, wishes, rights, or traditions of others. So when we use this term respect, I think it can sometimes be interpreted differently than other people. I don't think what the super chatter is necessarily saying is that we would we would treat you in a rude or mean or contemptuous sort of way because of the work you do. I don't think that's really it. It's just
like an old penny.
Can I add something?
Sure.
So you're saying that they deserve respect regardless of their industry. And you're being narrow-minded by not respecting someone because of their industry. But I guarantee there's some sort of industry, some sort of job some guy would have. And he said respect is deep admiration. That you're not going to deeply admire him for the work he does. And respect is not deserved ever. You earn respect. And some men don't respect sex work. And it just because it doesn't benefit you doesn't mean it's bad.
I also think you guys probably have a lot more power than you think. Well, you probably both know that you have a lot more power where maybe they don't see the power that you have. The guys are paying you. You're really in charge of this thing. I remember I had a buddy who used to love going to strip clubs, and we'd go to I would go with him, and it was like, whatever. And it was funny because if I would tell the stripper that I was gay, they'd want to grind on you like double time to see what would happen. So, and like physical contact is nice, so that was fine. But like, but I would always think like, you know, the sort of normal way to think about it was somehow the girl was disrespecting herself and she's out of control and blah, blah, blah. But it's like the girl was, usually they were earning money to go to college or something, blah, blah, blah. both of you seem like you have a good head on your shoulders. And at if I had to guess, like at some point you probably will be out of this line of work and you'll probably find a guy and you'll probably have kids.
so?
Yeah. Yeah, you will. Like that's kind of how life works. Like life, you don't just stay in the same mental or physical state
And I think
or
my
spiritual
parents-
state forever. And you'll look back and you might go, maybe some of that wasn't great. Maybe some of it was. But if you're saving some money now and like doing something that gives some people pleasure, like I get why people can be all judgy about it,
Right.
but I think you guys are
And
gonna be fine.
at the end of the day, my parents are happy with what I'm doing. My
Your-
parents support me with what I'm doing. My grandparents, my uncle is probably watching this right now. So
Wait, just to be clear, your parents
know
support
everything about what I
you
do for
doing
work.
prostitution?
I'm a legal escort in Nevada.
Sure.
Okay, that's what that means.
That's yeah.
Yes.
You are a prostitute.
I am
Whether
legally
legal or
doing things. I'm not hurting anybody. I'm not
that's not
hurting
what I'm
myself.
saying. But your parents
My parents
support you doing prostitution.
My parents are happy with the way I'm living my life.
They are?
I bought an RV. I'm on the way to buy a house. I have done so much for myself being in this industry. I do have the right head on my shoulders, and my dad knows that.
By the way, people prostitute themselves for a lot of other stuff besides sex. You
Politics,
know what I mean?
you know what I mean?
But she's not.
Yeah. No, I didn't mean that. I didn't mean that towards you. I mean, like, trust me, I come out of the world of politics. Like,
Yeah.
people sell out and do anything for money and say what
And-
they believe, and then they act contrary. So, like,
Dave,
prostitution.
But I don't
I
know
wanna
why it was
ask
so
you-
hard for you to wrap your brain around that, though, because it's like it's like
Because
you were
parents
having a
don't
hard
tend to be
time.
okay with stuff like
But
that.
my mom
Parents-
is
love
okay.
me
I
for
come
me,
from
and
a
that's
culture
what my
yeah.
parents
So-
like me for. They
when
love me
something
for me.
that doesn't commonly happens, you get surprised. It's not common for parents to be okay with their kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
That's-
it
that's pretty
surprised
rare.
him.
My parents
It's an
just are
acceptable
happy
thing
that I'm
to be
not hurting
surprised
nobody.
about.
I'm not hurting myself.
Thank you.
And
Thank
I
you
am
very
making
much.
money,
Thank
and I am going
That's
to
good.
be
Right.
doing
No, that's
things.
that's good.
I'm always leveling up in life, and why wouldn't my parents be proud of me succeeding in life?
Well, they're perhaps proud of you for the
That makes
success,
sense.
but it is surprising.
Somewhere where it's done legally and safely.
Sure, but I mean, it's surprising that you're. Let me ask you a question. Do you think your parents would prefer you to be an attorney, a
If they could
doctor
hit
versus a
switch,
prostitute?
all of a sudden, that would mean you do something else with your life and you have an equal amount of independence.
My
Would
parents
they do
are
that?
so proud of me for being independent and free. I'm
You can-
absolutely
But if
free.
you could
I'm a
do that in
nomad.
another
I
way,
travel
would
in
they
an
want
RV. They
You-
would want me to do what's best for me. My parents want me to do whatever I'm happy with and whatever I'm content with. And that's what
But
love
I mean,
is.
You could be happy and content
And
and,
I-
independent without doing sex work.
but
Her
it
parents
makes me
don't care.
happy to connect with individuals on a different
Her
level like
parents don't
that.
think
Hold
like
on.
Coy
you're thinking.
underscore Jones
One
donated
sec, one sec, one sec.
$100. Brian, your platform has the discussions most people won't/will not talk about.
Thank you, man. Appreciate
Respect.
it.
Let me clarify, most men would not respect the self-worth of a SW, nor would not want to be with. My girl works an honest job, which is why she is my pride and joy.
I don't know if that changes so much. Would not respect the self-worth of a sex worker.
So
Okay.
I was gonna say my mom. So my mom wasn't too happy about sex work because she's pretty conservative.
That's common.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
for
it's more common, especially for older people. If you're old enough to be a parent,
she's a baby boomer too.
yeah, then
so.
you tend to not want your child to be selling their body.
She loved that I did the Tantra retreat. She likes that I'm getting into the holistic side of the sexuality, and she's hoping that maybe one day I have my own, my own holistic Tantra practice. She likes that, so she was
But-
kind of rooting for that.
I
You
think
seem to
parents
get-
are going to adopt a more libertarian mindset towards their
Maybe.
children engaging in sex work if they see that their child is like safe and financially secure.
Yeah,
and
Okay,
then
it is a safe
but
one.
once
anyway.
if that occurs as a product of their
Hold on.
job, then I think they're going to be more likely to
Okay,
be
but
like,
the
you know
amount
what,
of
maybe
money I make,
maybe I was
they
being
don't-
more judgmental.
Here's the thing, though. You were deeply offended that he was surprised that your parents support it. And I'm saying the only reason he's surprised is because parents, because they're old and not
Noted.
usually libertarian, don't
Noted.
often support it. So
Noted.
there's nothing
Just let her talk.
you need to be
Let her talk.
offended about.
I'm
for
not
him being
offended. I'm just saying,
then
like,
why'd you raise
I
your voice and
said-
get upset that he
I
was
said
surprised?
it was just super weird that he couldn't comprehend. That's just
And I
all I said.
debunked that. I explained
It's not
why.
that weird.
I come
Most
from a
parents would
very
not be okay
religious
with that.
background, so I'm actually Buddhist, and I have a sister that is actually a sex worker. And my dad was in the Vietnam War, so he's super OG, like old school, you know. Wife should cook, clean, you know, stay home, take care of the kids while he provides and does everything. That's what I grew up with. But as my sister is a sex worker, he doesn't mind. He doesn't care. He says like, "Hey, you are your own individual person. You can do what you want to do."
Yeah.
But that's just
Disavow. The
Okay,
masculine. We
I'm
need the masculine
Buddhist, so-
instinct to come in and
Where are
shame
these
this
people
degenerate
protecting their
behavior.
daughters?
Like there's
I'm
no
living my
shame.
life for myself and nobody
Yeah.
else.
So
You know
like
what I
my
mean?
dad is like,
not good.
like I said, religious,
Because
but
the
it's just
reason
like,
that
he's saying
the-
like that's
it's my
you.
life.
Hold on, but so
So-
you're saying your father, your cousin, she's a sex worker.
No, my sister is a sex worker.
Your sister's
yes.
a sex
She has
worker,
an
and your
OnlyFans.
father's cool with it.
My father does. Yeah, he's cool
That's
with it.
you know why he's uncomfortable, like disavowing or shaming it or feeling like it's brought dishonor, is because the current social climate that we're in is very liberal, it's very progressive, and if you take a stance on any of
Grid One
this
Motorsports
shit,
donated
you're gonna
$100.
get the brunt of the current social climate
$304
and
will
be
be
so.
304.
Thank you, man.
Those choices are theirs to make, but let's not deny that men do not value anything they pay for as much as things they earn. Men win a woman's love. Men earn a woman's trust. These are valued above all else.
I like the
So, Dave, I wanted to ask
latter part
you.
of that. I like the latter
hold
part
on,
of that.
Hold on. So that blows my mind though. Like your father's cool with your sister doing, when you say sex work, we're talking stripper or what?
She does like OnlyFans and stuff like that. So her content.
Well, that's
is, like,
different than that's a little different.
I mean, yeah,
than-
she also does like meet up with people and like for work, and like she gets paid for
Oh, so she escorts too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what she does. So my dad doesn't mind. He doesn't care. Like he says that you can either go out and be an independent woman, or you could be a stay-at-home wife.
And
You
this
can
is exactly
choose
why
your-
society is failing. Is we don't have strong men saying no, this is not okay for you to do.
So you're
Dave
saying
is
that
the
my
only
dad is not a
parent
strong
on this panel.
man
I
or
want,
a strong
I
parent
want
or
us
anything
to
like
hear
No, not
Dave's
necessarily.
perspective as the only parent on this panel.
People are not listening.
Sure,
well,
we'll
Would
have
you
to.
be okay with
Brian,
your
hold
children,
on.
even though they're very young now?
Yeah.
Would you be okay with either of your children becoming sex workers?
No, well, of course, my preference would be no, and again, I don't mean to. It's weird to have two people here that obviously seem like great girls, so I'm not making this about you guys at all. So, the preference I think for every parent would be no, but I think what your dad is probably saying about your sister is she's out there making a living for herself. I assume she doesn't live with them. Like she's got her
Yeah,
own
no,
place.
yeah,
She's
she
like
has
doing
her own
thing.
place,
Like
she has her own
I get
car,
that
yeah.
it's not ideal in that in a certain sense of living, but you know. Life is about figuring out. There's a lot of people that are going to live on the margins, and you gotta kind of figure out ways that can work as a society.
Okay,
so,
but tell
so
us
my
why your preference is no.
No, because as I said, because I don't, as I said to them, like at some point, I bet if I was to ask either one of you, at some point you probably want to meet a guy that you'd really fall in love with and like be with him and have kids and have a family and everything else. They may not be quite there yet, so it's just sort of, it's a step of getting to somewhere that you want to be. I'm not sitting here selling sex work at all, but I think it's a little hypocritical in a sense that virtually everyone watches porn, everyone does whatever they do with yeah.
A lot of people
I did well.
I'm not talking about anyone at this table. I'm talking about, like, isn't it something like 70% of the internet traffic is porn, something like that? Like, everyone is using all of this stuff or being part of it to some extent, and then, like, looking at the people that are openly part of it and trying to explain what their life is and giving them shit for it. It just seems incredibly
But Dave,
ironic.
like, I want to dig into why you're saying your preference for your children is for them to not
Well,
do sex
I'm saying
work.
the same thing for them. I think ultimately, if she met the greatest guy tomorrow and was like, I want to take care of you, I want you to be the mother of my children, blah, 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 I suspect you would think that would be a better choice.
100%.
But
Yeah.
Dave,
Yeah.
when it comes to just because you consume something doesn't mean that you have to actively participate it. In other words,
Well,
just because
consuming
if
is
you
a type
watch
of participation.
right, but like for example, I like to watch the NFL. I don't want to go play in the NFL and go get CTE and go get a bunch of concussions. I'm not obliged. I like to watch the NFL. If I think there are certain health risks for my son to participate in playing in the NFL, while I might enjoy watching the sport, I might admire their athleticism, I might say to my son, it might not be. Listen, you're probably not going to play professionally. Maybe you don't play in high school and get a bunch of concussions. That's going to fuck you up. Similarly with porn, just because you watch porn doesn't mean that you are then obliged to either date a woman who does porn, or you're not obliged to encourage your son or daughter to watch or to become a porn actress. Just because you watch it, I don't think it makes you hypocritical.
He's
it
saying,
doesn't
is
even
that
make
what
you
think
I said.
I think he's saying like your
that.
actions speak louder than your words, and if you are ardently speaking out against porn but then consuming it, that's like a massive contradiction, for one. And then two, in the example of like football or sex work, if you say that you're anti-sex work but then you are supporting OnlyFans models, or you are consuming pornography, paying and like putting money towards it, you are helping like grow that industry and create and like voting with your dollar effectively.
By the way, you can also have an ideal in life that you're aiming towards, that you're not always getting to, but that you're working towards. So there might be some things you're doing along the way that if you're trying to get in a specific direction and you see what the end goal of what you want in life is, whatever that might be, whether it's that you want to be married and have kids, or you want to build a great business or whatever, if you're going in that direction and doing it honestly and forthrightly, like my general feeling is that things will work out.
But
one
do
way or
we
another.
agree at least that doing sex work is not an ideal path toward finding eventually?
Yeah, well, I said several times, I suspect, and she's agreeing with me, yeah.
Buddhism directly disagrees with self-fulfillment through selfish desires. It is believed to be a hindrance to true enlightenment and the proper pleasures meant to be experienced in life. So you're either full of it or not familiar with the practice.
Buddhism. Okay, I think kind of the initial conversation was your sister, she's an escort. Mm-hmm. She does OnlyFans. These two women are escorts. They prostitute. So, sorry. Okay.
Grid 1 Motorsports
I'll come back
donated $100. If my son brought home a prostitute as a girlfriend, he and I would have a long talk about where I effed up teaching him values and morality. After we covered the sofa and chairs with plastic.
Okay, that was
Thank
funny.
you.
I love that one.
Plastic.
No, so they're involved in prostitution. Your father is happy with it. You said that your parents are
And
supportive.
my parents know that I do OnlyFans and all of that. Yep.
Right, and I think kind of where that whole thing stemmed from was I was saying that, and I'm not sure. I think maybe Dave, you introduced the porn component into it, so that's kind of where my train of thought was with my argument. But
You said most women or most men wouldn't want to date a sex worker, right?
Yeah. And I do think, like, I don't know. I don't think it's a parent should be like encouraging or co-signing sex work.
I mean, we're not saying that, oh my God, our parents are like rooting for us to like
Loose
do.
Pussy Energy donated $99. With all due disrespect, most guys don't want gross 304s that have been ran through and got more bodies than John Wick. L for the parents, gay simp, and Four Eyes Kappa screechy voice troll. Brian, it's time to Frank Castle.
No,
This
it's fun.
Is Sparta. Hashtag feud them. Hashtag 8 at 18.
So
I think I agree with you, Brian, that like most men, if you ask them, would say that they don't want to date a sex worker, they don't want to date anyone who's involved in pornography or the porn industry. But I think actions speak louder than words. And if you pulled 100 random dudes from the street and asked like if they had the opportunity to go out with like Mia Khalifa or like Sasha Grey, do you think that they would say they don't want to?
If they do, it's because they're horny for her, not because they want to
But
cherish her.
they'd still do it. This is my point. Like they can say that like I wouldn't
They'd still do what?
like go out on a date with Mia Khalifa or Sasha Grey.
Because they see them as sexual objects who they want to hook up with.
He said they wouldn't want to wife Mia Khalifa. They might, even if they say yes, they might think they want to wife Mia Khalifa because she's hot. But that's
Is she,
that's
though?
not their. I mean,
Wait, Brian,
also,
if you think out of like if you pulled 100 American guys, they wouldn't want to.
Huh?
She's a kind of
What's that?
nasty
What's that?
bitch, and I'm not talking about
Mia
her
Khalifa's
looks.
marriage
If you just
broke
pulled-
down as a result of her porn career. She said that her husband actually admitted to her that he was no longer comfortable with the fact that there were existing videos of her having sex with other men on the internet.
Go
She
ahead,
said
Erin.
that
Go
that
ahead.
did contribute to the end of her marriage.
Go ahead.
But I'm just asking, if you polled like 100 American guys,
Yeah.
and asked them, would you like to go out on a date with Mia Khalifa right now? You have the opportunity to. Do you think that the majority would say no?
Depends what street you're on.
Average American guy got all the
Would they
American.
go with Mia Khalifa?
Would they go out on a date
Can't
with
you
Mia
think
Khalifa?
of someone who?
Yeah,
Lana
just
Rhodes.
say, just say
Out of-
porn
out of-
star in
No,
general,
no.
not one, because
Just-
men have different preferences.
Out of 100 guys, how many
Would-
do you think would say no to a date with Mia Khalifa?
Well, okay, so
Do they think it involves sex?
It doesn't matter.
Just a date. It's a broad question.
Just
Like
a date.
They want to
But-
court
Yeah, because-
Mia Khalifa for marriage?
It's
no.
hard to
it's
say.
the question.
Nobody said
The
marriage.
only
It's hard to
question that
say.
they're being asked,
He said
that these
I don't-
100 men are being asked, is would you go on a date with Mia Khalifa right
We
now?
have a simp epidemic, so it could very well be the case that a high proportion of them say yes. But, and my personal standard is I mean, if you've done porn, because there's some guys' standard is, well, I would date them casually, like I'd hook up with them, but I'd never take them seriously for a long-term relationship or marriage. If a girl's involved in that kind of work, I wouldn't even want casual sex with her. I don't want to kiss her. I don't want to go on a date.
Your
I don't
personal
want nothing.
preference,
Sure.
but you think the
I
average
a lo-
guy?
I think a lot of men probably, I don't know, majority, minority. I think a lot of guys also just wouldn't want to even pursue it anyways. But I do think there's a lot of simps. There's a lot of simps, and there's a lot of men who get very little attention from men. Holy fuck. Excuse me, sorry, I misspoke. There's a lot of people that get very little
Zero's
attention from
Maxi
women.
donated
So
$100. The first day I moved to LA, I met a girl I really liked. Found out she had an OF and I didn't
Paul?
care. The more we hung
Okay,
out, the
I
more
see them in the
feelings
chat.
developed, and the more the OF became a problem, so we broke up. Once the surface novelty wore off, I had to end it.
See, this is,
so,
this is
I mean-
what happened with Mia Khalifa's marriage.
so I could poll my audience, but I suspect you'd say, well, it's not representative.
Well, I was just asking you, average American, not your. Because do you think your audience is like comprises of like the average American guy?
Well,
or no?
I would say like a large portion of my audience maybe would agree more so with my position on this. So I don't know if it would be representative of
the average
the
guy.
average American guy.
So you talked about, you said for your personal preference, no, but you really think that the average guy in America is saying no to a date with Mia Khalifa?
Okay, can I add something?
It's
real
hard to
quick?
say. I don't know.
I don't think so. I think if they had the chance, they might say I would never date a sex worker, but if they had the opportunity to date someone
That's
like Mia
because
Khalifa,
we're in a
like
simp epidemic.
Amaranth, like
we're
Sasha.
in a simp epidemic. Of
But
course.
you were saying earlier that like, men need to step up and tell women that they're not going to accept like, girlfriends as
Yes.
girlfriends as sex
Sure.
workers and stuff like that. But I'm saying, if I agree with you, the majority of guys already don't want that, but yet sex work industry is only getting larger and larger. So I don't think male condemnation is putting women off of wanting to enter sex work at all. And then especially when it's so lucrative for some of them, very few, but for the few that it is lucrative for, it's just encouraging that.
All right, let me add
Encouraging
something.
what? From men to what?
If men financially support OnlyFans or sex workers in
Sure.
some way, then that's an endorsement of that behavior in a small way because you're voting with your dollar and you're expanding the industry. There's a financial incentive there for women to enter into it.
Right.
Are you-
As long as
I don't deny
would keep
that
doing this
simps
until-
exist. I know that there are men who
Simps
co-sign on
exist, but I'm
sex
talking
work.
about the average guy. I think the average guy consumes pornography, and the average guy is also
Correct.
consuming like OnlyFans and stuff like that. Like I don't think that,
That
the
in
subset
no
of
way
men.
means that they would want to marry the women.
I never said that
are
they'd want to
watching.
marry them,
Okay,
but Brian made
but-
the claim that they wouldn't even consider them.
That's
and
not
I'm saying I
true.
don't think that's true.
He said he wouldn't consider them for marriage. So his initial point was that he doesn't think guys want to have a long-term relationship or to wife a girl who's done sex work. And then you were like, so if you polled all these men and asked them if they would go on a date, a date isn't
Nickelodeon
marriage.
I never said a date was marriage.
$99. I don't think these girls chose to come into the prostitution business. It came into them. P.S. No, Mia is a terrorist
Oh.
sympathizer.
That's
Let's
true,
not
that's
get into
true.
that.
That's true.
But his initial point was marriage and long-term relationship, and then you brought up a completely separate point of one date. And he said yes, that they probably would because simps exist. So what are we arguing?